We're good.
Good to go.
Dude, thanks for coming, man. Honestly, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
For those listening or watching, just a little background. We met in the last provincial election. You were running for the Green Party, but provincially,
Exactly.
we both didn't get the result we wanted.
You got closer though.
I did get a bit closer, yes.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, gave me the chance to leave politics and do something, fun. And here you are, back at it.
I'm back at it, yeah.
But this time with a federal.
Yes.
Before we talk about the federal election and everything, let's just go back to the provincial election.
Sure.
That was your first time in engaging in politics or getting involved like in active politics?
Somehow, yes, but I have to be honest, when I was in an elementary school, I ran for president of my school. So that was actually the first time I was really pushing to run for something.
Yeah. But like actual active politics involved with parties?
Actual really active politics was really my first time.
That was the first time?
Yeah.
How did it feel? What was that experience for you? Or what was that experience like?
For me, it was a calling because I had this kind of feeling that I had to do this because like I told you, I did it in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been an activist for many years, a climate activist.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually during the elections of the United States when Donald Trump took the presidency. Yeah. I was at the climate change conference in Morocco. Okay. And they invited me to be part of a press conference on how young people will see, Donald Trump in North America and what will be the impact on climate change and the environment. So that kind of like ignite the idea of
give you the itch.
Yeah, itch of going back to politics and bring a lot of things into action. Try to shift how politics can make a difference, especially on the environment.
But especially not only like politics, how politics can affect change, but also you as an individual, just Absolutely. Engaging in politics and communicating with the different people and exchanging. And of course, like you saw, I mean, this is your second campaign that you're doing. Not everybody is going to be on your side, right?
Yes.
And it's fine, it's respectable. But the fact that you're exchanging this information, that you're giving your point of view, and at the same time, you're getting the feedback from other people and knowing and understanding how people feel, how people react, and how they engage in politics and in the ideologies and everything, I think it all contributes to the cause, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the main things that I came into politics is really to get closer to people and see, like on the ground level, where are people looking for, where people are listening to, what are they against, where are they actually craving to have, and I think that's one of the most the good sides or the interest sides for me, that getting closer to people or what they need. And especially because I grew up in this area in Ville, and since I moved to Canada, I've been, I lived in this neighborhood. So for me, it's a way to contribute to my, to the area where I grew up in Canada.
Grew up, yeah. So this is sort of like a continuation for you. You had like a few months, maybe 6 months, 7 months of a break, relax a little bit, and then it's as if you're continuing. In your mind, is there like a difference, or do you feel like you just never stop from one campaign to the next?
That's interesting. I think.
Well, actually, sorry. First, before, I mean, did you know that you wanted to run federally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, one of the things that I wanted to be part of the provincial elections is because I wanted to test it out to see how I feel myself. With engaging in politics and how it works, but aiming to this campaign, because I know it was for me like a leveling up, and I know I was gonna be, if I got nominated in this area, to be running against Justin Trudeau, and it's something I wanted to honestly it was a challenge that I wanted to have. Mm-hmm. So I was consciously preparing to this moment to happen, and at the same time, it is a continuation in terms of the message that we want to bring forward when it comes to the Green Party of Canada or the Green Party of Quebec.
Mm-hmm. So you got the addiction, basically. You tested out provincially, like, this is what I want to do. This is it.
Yeah, I was
definitely doing this federally.
Yes. Yeah, so I definitely got motivated, and for me, it's actually an honor to run against our Prime Minister, whoever it is, whatever they have done. I think that it's it's an opportunity to stand up and show that, in my personal opinion, to do better.
Yeah.
In this case, or to do different, and to show a different kind of leadership. So,
yeah, but regardless who you're running against, right?
Absolutely.
It's just a privilege to defend, your party's platform, the ideas, and like we said before, just exchanging with people and seeing how that resonates. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, let's be honest, the green platform doesn't have the same impact in every riding, right? I mean, there's six. Well, of course, Quebec, but we're talking about Canada at large. I mean, there's pockets where the support is much larger than others, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about the Green candidates campaigning in the prairies.
Yeah.
Chances are that they're not going to get much support or much positive feedback, right? Than probably in Quebec or in Vancouver, where we've seen more and more support for the Green platform.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's definitely spots where the Green Party are better.
Yeah. But this is a funny thing, though, because especially with the NDP since 2011, we've seen kind of a decline, right?
Yes.
And many are suggesting that they share commonalities in their ideology, in the approach towards more green policies. And when we see where the NDP was in 2011, where they caused a lot of damage, especially to the Liberal Party and the Bloc Québécois in Quebec, but also to the Green Party across Canada, now it seems as though it's the opposite, right? I mean, they're kind of on the decline. Is there a window there for the Green Party to capitalize on this descent that the NDP is having and try to score some points?
I think definitely, and that's why we call it the Green Wave, because people are becoming more aware of the environmental situation, the climate crisis that we're living in. So people are tuning more into that, I will say, frequency of understanding the necessity of action towards having more climate solutions. And the NDP, well, I think it's true. I think we're very close in a lot of our policies and everything. And I see them more like as a friend, very close ally. Rather than enemy, or very opposed to, let's say, us with conservatives or other parties. So I think it's a big chance for us to stand up, and I think Elizabeth May, it's her expertise in...
look, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw that first debate, and a lot of people, for some reason thought that Jagmeet Singh came out as the winner. I honestly think Elizabeth May was, for me, in my opinion, very objectively, I think she was the one that impressed me the most. I don't agree with everything with the Green Party, but in terms of her posture, she knows her stuff really, really well, and she stood her ground there. I think she did very well in that debate.
Well, I mean, she's been also like an activist like me, but for many years, and then she came into politics. She was the first Green Party MP. Yeah. And I can see. I saw the debate, and I saw that she was really knowledgeable about everything she was saying, and the fact that she's a woman, I think I like that brings a different energy to the debate. And although yes, I heard that Jagmeet did very well, and I think he did, but I think that sometimes people misunderstand.
I found him a little bit arrogant. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to score points, and it was easy, right? Because you have the NDP and the Green Party kind of attacking the Conservative. There's no one else there because Justin wasn't there. So it was as if you had the two more or less, green socialist parties attacking the right-wing party. So it almost makes sense that those two kind of stood out, right?
Absolutely.
But I found him a little bit arrogant, to be honest with you. And I thought that Elizabeth May, in terms of her presence, for me, she kind of won that debate.
And I think sometimes she's misunderstood because she knows so well and so deep the challenges that we have in front of us, that sometimes I think it's hard sometimes for people just who are not maybe totally into the environment or the climate process to really follow her all the way. And I think that's why it's important for us, the Green Party, to become more mainstream, so people understand the necessity of understanding this climate crisis and how we can address policies to create policies to target those necessities.
It's interesting that you're mentioning this because I feel that in the last maybe 5-6 years, there's a lot more attention being driven towards environment-friendly policies, the climate change, green technologies, and so on. And we saw that in the last by-election in 2019, where your party gained a second MP. And this comes back to the strategy with the NDP that we're talking about, because this is a riding that was occupied a long time by an NDP member of parliament. She stepped down. There was a by-election, and the Green Party picked it up. So do you think that this is something that we may see in the upcoming elections? Do you think that we're going to see maybe more candidates being elected from the Green Party?
Honestly, hopefully, because we need a voice for our policies to be in the parliament, and I think we bring the conversations deeper to where they have to be. And I know that perhaps we're not going to be the majority, or but just having a few of them, maybe a dozen of them, that will be really a powerful way to bring this message and to start, like I said, focusing on the challenge. And I have to say this, I think we're the only party who our policies are focusing on targeting the temperature not to rise more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is what the Paris Agreement is telling us to do. And we need to have this bold ideas and focus, because otherwise, I like how the conservatives bring a lot of these ideas forward, but for me, it's as if they were back in 1980s or the beginning of 1990s, which are probably great policies for that time, but unfortunately at this time, those policies are not up to date. And Justin, well, I think he had a great chance to really become a really good leader, and I think he missed those opportunities, and that's why he's suffering.
Why do you think he missed that opportunity?
His dad was prime minister. He had a legacy. He had the charisma. The people gave him a lot of trust in the last election, and I think some of his policies failed, especially on the environment. Here in Quebec, this is something very important. He failed, with the Saint-Lavalin, the trust issues about that. So,
like on a more ethical,
and also the leadership was saying, okay, we have to really. I know we have to be pragmatic, but it's a bit more than just being pragmatic. It has to be really moving forward to a lot of things. And I think he didn't took that opportunity, and maybe that's why he's suffering right now, actually.
Well, here's what I think, because yes, there seems to be like a green wave. Maybe it's not enormous, but it's enough perhaps to make some damage to the NDP. But at the same time, the opposite could happen. I mean, your wave could be significant enough to split the vote between the NDP, especially in ridings where the NDP has been winning, and allow for the Liberals to just walk right through.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that possibility as well.
That's a possibility. And some people ask me, well, what if I don't want to split the vote? I don't want the Conservatives to win. I don't want the Liberals to win.
So they're going to vote strategically. So that may be a lost opportunity for the Greens.
There can be a lost opportunity. But at the same time, I tell you, we have to be the leaders on this climate crisis. And if we don't stand up to what the challenge is, because we're going to have a lot of challenges ahead in Canada and in the rest of the world. If we want to be, I see myself as, I see actually Canada as a leader, and not just following the rest of the world or just getting behind on this. Actually, we have the potential to become a really, really powerful, really to transition to a green economy, and this can create a lot of jobs, it creates a lot of opportunities. I know it's not easy because the oil sands and the oil industry in Alberta is rooted in their communities and their economy, and it has to be addressed very specifically for me, in a way that those people can keep their jobs, they don't lose anything, but understanding that the shift has to happen. And so for me, if I was prime minister, I will put a minister of a transition of economy and environment in almost every industry, because for me, as I see it, every industry in Canada has the potential of decreasing, of extinguishing, like disappearing because of climate change in the environment.
But that's what I found very interesting in your platform. There's a suggestion to create a transpartisan ministry to deal with this specifically thing that you're talking about, the transition towards a more eco-friendly future, like a more green future in Canada, which is, I find that interesting.
No, because this problem is going to affect every human being on the planet. I think we have to bring the best of every way of seeing, addressing certain things. So the pragmatism of the liberals, the way to make more money like the conservatives, the social aspects of the NB or the environment as so really bringing these ideas forward, but understanding that everything depends on the planet. Like the economy depends on the planet, all the social problems that we have depends on the planet. So we are part of this. Like the economy, humans are an extension of the planet, and if we're destroying the source of who we are and our economy and all our social benefits that we have, well, we're actually just destroying ourselves in a way. So that's a shift that has to happen in politics. And once we understand that, even though we can have different kind of opinions or how to target, we have to be aiming at least at the same thing, which is to really avoid climate catastrophe.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though, and it's maybe logical, that the mainstream media is mostly following, the parties that are leading. We're talking about the Liberals and the Conservatives, maybe a little bit the NDP because of, the leadership or, the advance that they had since 2011. And maybe I'm wrong, but it feels as though the messages that, the Green Party has aren't vehicled, aren't communicated at large because there's very little media attention given to this party. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's the perception that I have. How do you make sure that these messages go out? I mean, how do you confront this challenge of not, gaining that attention that the media gives other parties, for example?
I think the Green Party is part of a regenerative energy of the planet and the economy and society. So it's normal that, let's say, when you see a tree, you see it already is full grown and you can see it and you can observe it. But when there's something is growing up like completely new, you kind of tend to don't see it right away because it's not big, it's not there, it's not fully grown yet. And I think we in a way it's a challenge because every counterculture movement or in politics or whatever kind of a social movement, it's always like that. It starts with a few individuals and then becomes bigger and bigger. So
more on a grassroots level.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's normal that people don't see it that way, especially media, mainstream media. But at the same time, now with technology like social media, the youth, which is probably for me my main focus on my campaign, is to give a vote of hope for them to really understand that they are the future and they are the ones who can bring this message. And I can tell in last election, on the provincial election, one of my favorite parts of the whole campaign was when these 5 girls, probably like 10 years old, they approached me and it's like, oh, are you the candidate for the Green Party? Because I was wearing this polar bear t-shirt. Yeah. And they asked me really deep questions about climate change and the environment. And I was and for me, that made the movement of my campaign because it's like they know the emergency of what's happening. And they're going to continue to grow with this kind of understanding and trying to address the situation.
It's interesting that you bring this up because I've noticed that the youngsters today, let's say like the high schoolers, there is more and more, they are more and more sensitized to environmental issues, right? I mean, maybe they learn it in school or, they're obviously much more aware of these things than I was, for example, when I was in school. So do you think like 10 years down the line when they will reach, the age of voting, do you think that will create a much larger footprint of the Green Party in the Canadian landscape?
Yes, and even if it's not just the Green Party, at least to other parties to become more green in their policies. Mm-hmm. The approach can be the same kind of a liberal, conservative, but aiming at not destroying the planet resources.
Because it feels as though you have like mini ambassadors everywhere growing, and we're seeing now this whole trend with Greta Thunberg. She's coming to Montreal next week. It seems like the mobilization is exponential, and especially in that age group, right, where you have schools now thinking of closing so that they can mobilize their young students to go march for the environment, for example. So do you think there's a strategy that your party should put in place to kind of keep that flame burning?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that we do are with the young Greens, and they are the ones who push the agenda, and they bring this message to university, to schools, and they are the ones who, they it's very natural, it's very organic how they move and how they regroup together to bring this message forward. And I've been to climate change conferences, especially for COI. COI is the Conference of Youth on Climate Change, which started in Montreal 15 years ago, and now it's going to be the edition number 15 in Chile. And it's amazing to be around so many young people, so aware of the challenge, but not only aware, but also really trying to find solutions in their own way. And I think the purity and the vision of our young people is that they don't want to limit themselves to what we have created right now in terms of policies or politics or economics. I think they have a way to innovate, and I think innovation on young people is going to be key.
So what kind of image do you think then Quebec is giving, not only to Quebecers or even to Canadians, but on a world stage when the premier decides not to go to the climate summit in New York, which is the first time, right? This happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost seen as a trend. It's a tradition, basically, for the premier to attend this, because it highlights the importance of these issues, right?
Yeah.
So for the first time, we have a premier that doesn't. I mean, what kind of message do you think that gives?
Well, not showing it means like you're not representing the voice of so many young people and so many Canadians.
To be fair, I think his environment minister will be going.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a clear difference between.
It's probably because of the campaign and everything, and the agenda. But I think it's very, very important. What I've seen is, for example, in the climate change conferences, was that Canada used to be a leader and they used to have a reputation, and they used to be seen. The world used to see Canada as this model of how to have a very ideal society in many ways, and including the environment. But that, flew away, and so Canada lost that reputation of, especially in the environment, to be a leader, and now we're just very behind. And I think this is part of that too.
Let's talk a little bit about the platform. This is what I like about the Green Party, and the NDP did it as well. As soon as the election started, or maybe even before, they immediately presented the platform. It's available online. The other parties, I mean, we have to wait week after week to see what's going on, and eventually the whole platform will be presented along with the costing and everything. But that's what I love about the Green Party. You go to the website, everything is there. All the propositions are presented from the get-go. Give me some of the highlights. Give me some of the main propositions that you're making should you get elected.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the area where I live, is affordable housing. As we in Parque Extension, we know that there's a lot of gentrification, so we're trying to address.
Yeah, Villeray as well.
Villeray too, of course.
Yeah.
But I heard recently here a lot of cases when people were really kicked out of their houses, and because they were gonna rise the prices.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one way to really address housing in Canada. Universal dental care, pharma care to child benefits for all children, and free tuition for universities and students in other institutions. But for me, the one that really pulls me, and I invite people to reflect on it, is that we're the only party that their platform, again, and I said this before, aims at not increasing the temperature 1.5 degrees Celsius more. And that has a big impact on all the rest of the platform, because once you're aiming at something that is aligned with science, then the rest of the policies can align themselves to what is happening to reality. So I think that for me, that's the core message of.
So just to be clear, basically you're suggesting to reduce the gas emissions by 60%, 60%. Compared to the 2005 levels, right?
Exactly.
So basically you're aiming at a zero emission by 2050.
2050. Actually, and to really by 2030 to really start having this transition of the economy into zero carbon lifestyles and well-being. So, I think that's one of the most ambitious, probably it's the most ambitious platform in the Canadian politics right now. I know we're aiming very high, but if you don't have this high aim, well, it's going to be very difficult, especially when science is telling us that we have only probably, 12 years before things get really, really messy. And that means that we have to change before the 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now there's some reports that saying that even that can be contested. It can be actually less time to make those changes.
Obviously, they're ambitious propositions from your party. Of course, the costing hasn't come out yet. I'm curious to see exactly what the budgeting is of all this. But let's say by some miracle you make a government, okay? You're inheriting a budget that, in my opinion, has been completely disregarded. I mean, we went from having a balanced budget by 2019 to being in a deficit of $70 billion. This is something that you're eventually going to have to assume. So I don't know exactly what the costing is of everything that you're proposing. Obviously, it seems really elevated to have free education, remove all the student debt, university debt, dental care, pharmacare. We're talking about a lot of money here. So how do you stay true to these commitments by reducing that gap that has been left over by the Liberals?
Of course, those are policies and ideas that we're aiming at, and we understand the reality of that we have to start, finding money to make those things reality. And of course, one of the things is to tax the 1%, the famous 1%, and also companies like Amazon, Facebook, that they don't have really, they don't put any money to the government, and you start taking money from there. And also finding other ways by transitioning to a greener economy. I think now renewables is the biggest sector on energy growing in Canada. So there's a big potential in energy, in investments on green technology too. So there's a big opportunity there that perhaps because of the oil companies and the fossil fuel industries, they're not maybe letting everyone know that this can be possible. So I think there is an opportunity by transitioning to a green economy and innovation too in clean tech. So I think there are windows there. I'm not an expert in economy and to tell exactly how that can be done, but I'm learning every day, and I'm understanding how we can change that. I work in a bank too, so understanding how there's some challenges but opportunities there to really make these ideals in politics very practical, because that's the aim, to make it practical without creating a deficit or without making the government go to bankruptcy.
We're gonna wrap it up. I know you have a busy day. I want to address probably the elephant.
Sure.
Maybe not in the room, in the car.
In the car.
You are running, like you said, in the riding of the Prime Minister, right, Justin Trudeau. I mean, it's no secret that it's been considered pretty much a safe Liberal riding for a number of years. Of course, there was a period during which the Bloc Québécois happened to slide in here. But other than that, I mean, he garners a lot, a big portion of the support. Is this something that intimidates you at all, going against the Prime Minister? How do you feel about, campaigning in his riding? And at the end of the day, I mean, we have to be realistic. I mean, your party gets roughly about 3% support in the area. Well, what is your ultimate objective over here? What do you want to get out of this?
I know it sounds maybe idealistic, but for me, it's to be in Ottawa. Why? Because I have nothing to lose. He's the one who has everything to lose. I have everything to win, and for me, it's a way to give it all. For me, it's actually. I'm motivated to run against Justin and to somehow, if I manage in my campaign to bring the attention from media and people to see that there can be real leadership in Canada in a completely different way. And also making Canadians understand or see, not understand, but to see that there is a way forward. And I think some of our policies in the Green Party are really, really ideal in terms of how we can shift our economy to a more green economy. But for me, anyways, bringing to Justin Trudeau, I wish him the best. I know he's going through a hard time these days with all the scandals, but I'm gonna do my best, and I have no. I just feel like I'm gonna enjoy this, and I'm gonna learn a lot, and
it's important, obviously, to have fun, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then you just shouldn't be doing it, right?
Absolutely. But I think we can earn a really. We can increase our percentage for a lot this campaign.
I have a feeling that you might, judging by the results that we saw in the provincial election, especially in Villeray. There seems to be that wave of I don't know how you call them, hipsters, whatever. I don't know. There's a demographic change that's been happening, and I have a feeling that you might score a lot higher than the previous Green candidates. So, good luck with that, man, and I'll be following very closely. And I appreciate that you took the time, man, to do this.
No, thank you. Thank you, George.